Deep in the heart of Utah, nestled in the Uinta Basin, lies a mysterious piece of land known as the Skinwalker Ranch. With a dark history that intertwines with Native American legends, this site has become the epicenter of bizarre phenomenon.
UFOs, shape-shifting creatures, unexplained deaths, and terrifying anomalies. Is this place cursed, or is there something far more extraordinary at play? Join us as we journey into the unknown and explore the chilling mysteries of the Skinwalker Ranch.
And welcome to Zoomundus Podcast, episode 13. Tonight, we're going to do a deep dive into the Skinwalker Ranch and all of the creepy occurrences that have surrounded that ranch.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of background on the Skinwalker Ranch. Currently, I don't think it's called that. It's just sort of a title that it's gained over the years. But we're going to go back a couple of years and tell you a little bit of the history. And that's with the Ute and the Navajo history. And that land, the current Skinwalker Ranch, sits on land that was traditionally owned by the Ute tribe back in the day. And the name Skinwalker comes from Navajo folklore, where skinwalkers are shamans that have the ability to shapeshift into people or animals. Now, the Navajo and the Ute had a bit of a conflict. Maybe it was a territorial dispute, what have you. But it's believed that the Navajo sent the Skinwalkers to curse their enemies, and a lot of people believe that that curse still haunts the land today, or perhaps even Skinwalkers still inhabit that land today. So we're going to go back to 1994 at this point, and the land was purchased by the Sherman family. They just kind of wanted to settle down. They just wanted a peaceful life out there, and their experience turned weird really quickly. One night, Terry Sherman of the family encountered an unusually large wolf, so he says.
Okay.
And despite the fact that he claims to have shot that wolf several times, not only did it seem unaffected by being shot, but also it just vanished and it left no tracks behind.
So I've heard a couple of these werewolf-like sightings. Did he mention anything? Like, was it standing on 2 feet, or?
I don't think it said. It just said it was an unusually large wolf.
An unusually large wolf.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, seeing a large wolf in and of itself it's not. No, but the fact that he claims to have shot it and it disappeared with no tracks, that's cause to raise an eyebrow.
Oh,
I think.
Absolutely.
The Shermans also reported various incidents: strange lights in the sky. Mysterious voices could be heard on the ranch, odd circles in the fields, and cattle mutilations. And we'll get into the cattle mutilations and everything a little bit later, because this didn't stop in the 90s. This continued.
Supposedly through today.
Yeah, supposedly through today, and also went on before the 90s, which we'll get into here. But disturbed by the occurrences, the Shermans sold the ranch in 1996. So only 2 years after purchasing the ranch, they sold it and got out of there.
Right.
And it was purchased by a man named Robert Bigelow.
Yes.
Robert Bigelow was a millionaire, and he had an interest in the paranormal. So based on the Shermans' claims that the land was cursed, he purchased it in 1996 through his organization, the National Institute for Discovery Science, otherwise known as the NIDSCI.
And he purchased it here to actually research the phenomenon that was going on, actually study the location and see what's see what mysteries lie underneath.
Do you know what he uncovered there?
No, this is like when Knapp and a lot of those guys started getting really involved and learning, just experiencing paranormal activity, et cetera. And then, it obviously became kind of an epicenter for UFO and I guess paranormal is like the best way to say it. Events here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. So the researchers that worked for Bigelow witnessed strange creatures, including, as they said, entities with glowing eyes. They didn't really specify. It just said entities. Right. They also encountered unexplained cattle mutilations, one of which occurred in broad daylight with no visible blood.
Yeah, there was a couple specific instances I've read where they were they were all in one area,
and
literally like turned around, and then there was like a cattle mutilation.
That's
like
crazy.
Behind them. Not like directly behind them, like I don't know, 100 yards or something like that. But they were there, and there was people. The animal was actually in between several groups of people, and it just broad daylight.
That's wild.
Kind of weird, yeah.
Extremely. But despite their advanced equipment that they had, because they're out there researching, a lot of incidents remained undetected by cameras, which, raises some questions. Like, you had cameras out there. You didn't see anything. The team found no definitive proof of UFOs, extraterrestrial life, but their findings kind of bolstered the ranch's reputation as, as a paranormal hotspot. So this, of course, brought a lot of other skeptics and, supernatural chasers, if you will, out to that spot. But the NIDSCI disbanded in 2004, but Bigelow maintained ownership of the ranch until 2016.
Yes.
Now, in 2016, the Skinwalker Ranch was sold to an anonymous buyer, later revealed to be Utah real estate mogul named Brandon Fugel in 2020, so 4 years later. Fugel sought to bring a scientific approach to investigating the ranch's anomalies, which I would say that's probably what Bigelow did, and he didn't really have much luck, but he thought he'd try it again.
Yeah.
So the History Channel in 2020 began airing The Secret of the Skinwalker Ranch. Now, this was a reality series documenting Fugel's team of experts working to uncover the truth behind the strange events on the property. And the show's team investigates a lot of different phenomenon, UFO sightings, UAPs, whatever you're calling them now, and potential, get this, interdimensional portals and more using cutting edge at the time scientific tools and methods. So, I mean, as time goes on, things just really get stranger.
They do. And like you said, they're getting the ghost hunter type things that are out there.
Yeah.
And there's a couple interesting instances that they've had with that, like the cabin doors like opening when people are inside and just when they stayed there. And one guy thought he heard footsteps coming across the board. So, I mean, there's definitely like creepy occurrences, but from what I understand, like they've never been able to pinpoint anything down. Like there wasn't another person there, he's just like, oh, it's ghost. And it's like, well, I
always kind of take those shows with a grain of salt.
Yeah, they're a little silly. I watched one. It was pretty good, but you have to be like into it, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, of course it didn't start in 1994. We went back and now like in the middle now, since the 1950s, there's been unusual reports of UFOs, strange phenomenon throughout the Uinta Basin, and locals who live in the area report seeing bright door-shaped lights in the sky, giant flying objects, and once again, unexplained cattle mutilation. So this wasn't new. This has been happening there since the 50s. And some residents even claim to have witnessed their vehicles mysteriously moved without leaving tire tracks, and others tell story of cattle struck by lightning without any evidence of scorched earth. Man, it's a really bad place to be cattle, I think.
Yeah,
out there.
Absolutely. You're rolling the dice if you live out there, for sure. Do you want to get into that? That's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, most definitely.
In and of itself.
Yeah.
And it's been studied all over, not just, it is concentrated, there's a heavy concentration of it in this area, but it does happen in other places. So cattle mutilations, which I've heard the theory is that aliens are coming down and experimenting on the cows, and they cut pieces off of them, and it looks very precise. There's not a lot of torn flesh like there would be with an animal bite or something.
Almost like
it's
down. Like something like laser precision kind of thing.
Right. It's been removed by a scalpel or a laser, like you're saying, or and I don't know about cauterized wounds specifically or anything like that, but a lot of times you'll see pictures of it online of like the lips removed of something or eyeballs being snatched out of an animal. But I think an eyeball being eaten is something that a predator will do. Because it's a soft piece of.
But if it's a predator, you like those cuts aren't going to be precise. You're going to see claw marks and teeth marks.
That and the lack of blood in some of the instances, I think, really gets people thinking, hey, there's something else going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we just can't explain. And I mean, some people have speculated that's bacteria just like eats away at everything, or maggots and stuff like that. But if you don't find them, that's kind of. It's weird. And not all of them are discovered like the instant, like right after it happens, but that's kind of the way it's presented, at least in pop culture, is that, hey, like I woke up this morning and one of my cows was mutilated.
Yeah.
And in the creepy fashion, not attacked by an animal. It's not torn, all that kind of stuff. Which cows, I mean, they are big. They kind of intimidate other animals. They're a herd animal. I'm not really sure how much stuff hunts them besides wolves and stuff. I know that's always been a thing. But if these great big wolves exist out here, then I'm going to explain a little bit of it.
I mean, well, it's not surprising to know that there's, big wolves out there. How big, though, that's up for debate.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a big wolf is versus a normal size wolf. They're pretty big to me.
Most wolves are pretty big.
Yeah.
But it's lent itself to a lot of theories over the years, and I've got 4 of them here that we can talk about. First of all, and as we touched on in the beginning of the episode, a Native American curse. I mean, that's
Right.
I mean, so this goes back to the history of the Navajo and the Ute tribe. Once again, the Utes were the native tribe there. They were warring with the Navajo, but this curse is believed to possibly be like a Navajo revenge for on the Ute tribe, essentially. And this curse could explain ongoing paranormal activity, including the Skinwalker sightings. Now, it's what is a curse? Well, that's obviously goes into the realm of the supernatural,
Exactly.
obviously.
Yeah, magic and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have shamans and people that can transform, that's definitely beyond the realm of science as we know it.
Correct. Yeah.
There's another theory, and this one gets really interesting. Interdimensional portals.
Yeah, this is one that I actually don't know a whole lot about. I've heard it in passing, reading stuff. It's like, oh, an interdimensional portals. What do you have like a specific?
Yeah, well, a
crazy
little
thing
bit.
with
So
it?
one popular theory is that the ranch serves as it's like a hotspot almost for a portal between dimensions.
Okay.
Which might explain the strange creatures, UFO sightings, and unusual energy anomalies. And so witnesses have described bright moving lights, or as I said early, door-shaped lights, which is kind of strange because
That's cool.
that's not usually the typical shape of like a UAP. You know what I mean? But they think that some of these lights might be linked to said portals, suggesting otherworldly or interdimensional visitors, which that lends a lot of questions there. Interdimensional, like what's on the other side of those doors?
Right. Specifically, a lot of bright blue lights as well.
Yeah.
If it more on the traditional side of just a ball of light, ball of lightning, will-o-wisp, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe a UFO.
Maybe. Extraterrestrial visitors, of course, is another one. Another theory posts that the strange phenomenon at the ranch, such as UFO and cattle mutilations, are indeed caused by extraterrestrial beings observing or interacting with Earth. So this theory kind of aligns with the frequent UFO sightings in the area.
It's alien med school.
Yeah. But then that raises the question, why? What are they doing?
That's the one thing with I think that's why it's such a funny thing that's mentioned in all kinds of pop cultures, the mutilations, because it's never been explained. And it's been around for so long. It's been occurring, it was really big in the 70s, I think. And there's people who talk about it and they're convinced that it's one thing and not the other. And it's, I don't know, there's some contention there. So I think that's why it's constantly referred to. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. Cows are different than people and anything else to study on this planet. So you'd think they would do that to everything, not just one type of animal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or is remember the first episode of South Park that everyone
that's
like
what
back
I'm
in
thinking of
97, they're
right
like,
now,
we found that cows are the most intelligent species on the earth.
Moo.
Moo. And then there's the theory of geophysical anomalies.
Okay.
And some suggest that the ranch's strange occurrences are linked to geophysical forces such as seismic activity or geomagnetic fields, which might induce hallucination or other.
That's kind of interesting.
So I mean, that's an interest. I mean, I don't think there's enough science there, but it's definitely a theory. But there's been a lot of notable events that have been documented on the Skinwalker Ranch over the years, and I'm going to go through these for you. So, a mysterious cow death, and this was documented. So, after a young cow dies unexpectedly, investigators find unusual radiation spikes in the area, which is interesting. A fast-moving object is also spotted across the sky, and that kind of lends a little bit of credence to the UFO theory, but also could lend credence to the geophysical theory as well, because, why is there radiation spiking in that area where a young cow died unexpectedly for, seemingly no reason?
Correct. Could be a crack in the earth and some methane comes up, chokes it out, or natural gas or something like that. Who knows?
Interesting. Rabbi chants and temperature drop. So this is interesting. So during a ritual at Homestead 2, A floating orb was seen in the sky, and a sudden temperature drop was recorded, suggesting a possible presence of an interdimensional portal. This is, of course, just a theory, but this was a rabbi there that was, I guess, he was doing like a cleansing kind of thing there, and then the temperature dropped suddenly.
Interesting.
And then a light appeared. Drum circle and UAP sightings.
Okay.
And this is a Native American drum circle led to the appearance of a heat anomaly on the camera, which led to the sighting of 2 UAPs that appeared to dive towards the mesa, and asking a lot more questions there. Like, what maybe did the drum circle have something to do with it? And that kind of goes back to the old Navajo curse,
right?
There was a UAP vanishing at the triangle. So a UAP is filmed ascending alongside a laser beam before suddenly disappearing. And, this led the team to consider the possibility that portals were being involved in the phenomenon at the ranch. So
that makes sense to get in and out of there really quick.
Yeah.
Interdimensional travel may be a thing. That could be why they can travel here in the first place, right?
Do you have any other... and I've got a couple more. I just thought I'd let you chime in.
Honestly, most of what I was looking at was the cattle mutilations, the ghost story where the guy stayed out in one of the little places and it kind of creeped and opened doors, walking. Tons of light sightings, and the general. They keep talking about will-o-wisp keeps coming up in a lot of the things.
It's interesting.
Which I can't remember exactly what they're like lost spirits and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the folklore or the mythology that you're looking at and stuff. Some say that they're like malevolent spirits. Some say they're lost spirits. It's difficult to say.
And then with the skinwalkers, just the not the history behind it, but specific to that place that there's like the werewolf like sightings that have been happening, and that they see them on one or like 2 legs, like with arms, like half man, half wolf things. And then, like you're saying, running on all 4s. Now I didn't heard about just the dire wolf in general, like the extra big one, but obviously wolves live out west. That's kind of how it is.
I mean, we touched on that a little bit in the Valley of Headless Men episode, where we talked about there was giant wolves that, had been sighted on the property, or not on the property, out in the wilds, but definitely also on the property here. There was a massive dome object underground that apparently was uncovered. And
really?
So this was on the History Channel, and the team discovered a mysterious dome-shaped object underground the mesa that was believed to be a, quote, alien base, unquote. And that's interesting because I feel like that ties into recently, these congressional hearings that they're having where the government came out and said like, oh yeah, there's aliens, but they're not really extraterrestrial. They live underground, or they live in our oceans and things, but they didn't really offer much in the way of evidence of this.
Well, that's and I would think that if you found a base, even if aliens do live on Earth, that would create a much larger recovery effort to uncover them, to make contact with them, to talk to them, or just dig up like an ancient site if it is alien. So I find that hard to believe. Doesn't mean there's not stuff out there like, prehistoric buildings or anything like that, because we find stuff all the time.
Well, it makes you wonder, and this is something that I talk about all the time. Like, if man has been around for,
a long time,
100,000 years, but our recorded history only goes back we don't really know anything that happened on this planet before 5,000, 6,000 years ago.
Right.
I mean, we have an idea. Like we know that there were cave
the narrative
dwellers,
is Egypt,
cave dwellers, cave dwellers and things like that. But it just kind of begs the question, how many, if any, major civilizations rose and fell over the course of the last 100,000 years. We consider Mesopotamia to be the first human civilization, but that's only as far as our recorded history takes us back. So what if there was some sort of civilization that has just been kind of lost to time underneath the sands? You know what I mean?
Sort of post-apocalyptic event. So we're actually the next generation.
Yeah,
of that, or more than one generation. It could happen several times, which would explain some of the construction that we find. Why is it so precise? Maybe they had tools and stuff that just, I don't know, aren't here anymore for whatever reason. You can find old stuff. That wall, we were talking about that in an episode that they just found in Montana or something on top of a mountain. They're everybody's like, that's not a wall, it's just rocks. And it's pretty obvious that it's a wall, and it's really old, when they're chopping down trees and stuff. So, I mean, we find all kinds of neat stuff like that. and it's fascinating. What was the place they found that was like 15,000 years old and in Turkey?
Yeah.
Which is older than anything else we found at that point. You know, they're like, oh, that's weird.
15,000 years
and
is
it's
a long. I mean that
constructed, you know?
predates. I mean, well, that's going back to the last ice age,
Right.
And we know that humans were here during the ice age, but we just don't really have much recorded history on that.
Yeah, all you see is imagery of woolly mammoths and
of course. I mean, like
wearing furs and stuff. Yeah,
like man lived at the same time as those prehistoric creatures. You know, not dinosaurs, obviously, but there were prehistoric mammals and things that lived alongside humans back then.
And in the Americas specifically, a lot of mammoths and dinosaur bones are found here, especially out west. So who knows how much the like you're saying, the landscape changed, you know, drastically there, and it wasn't always a desert and things like that. And I'm not sure. I'm sure. Obviously, there's trees and stuff like that. They've mentioned that on Skinwalker Ranch, but it's not like a thick forested area, as far as I know. It's more deserty, right? Like
I'm going off our show notes here a little bit and stuff. But like, what if? And this is kind of a crazy theory, and it just kind of came to me.
Yeah.
But what if like these beings that lived apparently allegedly live with us currently on this planet? Like, what if they were the previous civilization and they just went, underground or something like that, and then we evolved, and I don't know. It's just the thought, but like maybe they were the first terrestrials.
That could be, as opposed to extraterrestrials.
Yeah, but also begs the question, like, all right, well, why don't they, come out? I mean, obviously, if they've been watching us for all these years, why don't they, come out and
show themselves?
Yeah, show themselves, or maybe they just don't want to.
Maybe there's not very many of them left. Who knows?
That's very true.
Or their tech is so awesome that they have better video games and movies and sporting events than we do.
They have Netflix without and Amazon TV without commercials. It must be amazing.
They went a different route. That's great.
But also, so there was one other thing that was recorded on the History Channel, and there was a rocket explosion with a blob-like anomaly. And so a rocket explodes during an experiment, and a symmetrical blob-like anomaly is focused on camera, suggesting potentially unexplained phenomena at close range. And nobody really knows what that blob was. It's kind of interesting, man. I mean, it makes you think, like, not only what was here before, but also like what if some of those ancient legends, what if there was some credence to that? What if shamanistic magic is real, or maybe it has something to do with like spiritualism. Spiritualism is really heavily tied to even to, like, some people in our society today, like they believe in spiritualism. They're usually hawking their crystals and tarot readings on Facebook and stuff. But hey, you know what? Like, maybe there's something to it.
Like Cleo.
Yeah. Call me now.
She was great. Yeah, I mean, this, I think places like this, specifically the Skinwalker Ranch, is like, I mean, George Knapp's still alive, obviously, and they wrote a book about it, and they talk about that book quite often. It's going to be in pop culture for a long time, as well as, in our general mind's eye. And I think it's going to continue to be a hotbed for tourists and UFO watchers, that kind of thing, for the foreseeable future. Whether it's, a place where reality and not fiction, but reality, like, starts bed.
The line
supernatural.
The line blurs.
Yeah, it gets blurry. It could be a legend, simply amplified by mystery and speculation. But they're going to continue to investigate it.
Hard to say, man. Yeah, you guys do some of your own research on the Skinwalker Ranch, and if you find anything interesting, want us to talk to us about it, send us an email, zumundo@outlook.com, and please feel free if you're enjoying watching us on YouTube or any of our other platforms. We're across all platforms, guys. We like it. We do this for fun. We're not trying to make money on this thing. It's just something that we enjoy doing. But if you enjoy it, give us a like and a follow. Please feel free. We would appreciate it. So, there's a lot of strange events that have occurred on the land.
Oh, totally.
And, whatever caused it, we don't know, but we know that it's happened. That much is undeniable. So, I mean, as we like to close out our episodes, skeptical, feasible, or more information needed?
More information needed, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm pretty skeptical on it just because, like, I don't know. I've watched so many shows on it, but again, it's that great. There's like a missing link here especially when it comes to the UFO piece. And I get it. Skinwalker Ranch is a little bit different. So for the way I think, I guess it's a little harder for me to just dive in and open up with some of that stuff. What do you think? I want to say it's somewhat feasible. Maybe not all of it.
I feel like a lot of it's been kind of built up in legends and folklore and stuff like that. But I definitely think there's something either otherworldly going on there or something that we just don't have the science for yet.
That could be as well.
Yeah.
Right. And then that would be much more explainable. I think honestly, the dimensional thing that you were talking about, the portals and stuff, that's something I got to look into because that's more interesting.
Yeah, we definitely got to do an episode on multiversal theory at some point. Been thinking about that a lot lately. But whether it's the result of a long-standing curse, an interdimensional portal, or extraterrestrial influence, one thing we know for sure, the mysteries of the Skinwalker Ranch are far from over. And as the new investigations continue, we may find ourselves drawn back to this strange location, hoping to uncover what lies beneath on the surface, or what lurks within it. For Zoomundus, I'm Doolin.
And I'm Keith.
And as always, guys, stay skeptical, stay weird, and if you ever find yourselves in the deserts of Utah at night, keep your eyes and ears peeled. You never know what's out there. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, you got to look up when you're out there. Man. You never know what you're going to see. It's a pretty good wolf.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Working on it.
You're working on it.